Know what I mean?
Welcome to Ernest Roulette,
the only Ernest podcast with a wheel.
Let's give it a spin, see what Ernest movie we'll be watching this episode.
Remember, we have to do what the wheel says.
Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom beam.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Ernest Roulette, the only Ernest podcast with a wheel.
We probably already said that.
We did.
Yeah, okay.
So we've just finished Dr. Otto, and I've got to say, I am a fan. Kevin, got some logistics on it?
Yes, so Dr. Otto came out in 1986, April 9th, directed by John Cherry. Get used to that name.
Yeah.
And there were several production companies involved with this movie that have humorous names, including Studio Productions, Sweat Equity Incorporated, which I appreciated, and it was released on VHS by Know What I Mean Home Video. I don't know if this was in theaters.
I looked on in my research between Wikipedia, IMDb. I don't know.
It wasn't released on video until 1992 or something like that. I couldn't really find any information about why they made it or like how long it took to produce. Was it made concurrently with Goes to Camp, or was it kind of a proof of concept for Jim Varney to be in a movie? Or?
It's almost a Franken movie. It's clearly made before the Disney Ernest movies. This is technically the first feature film with Ernest in it.
Yeah.
You know how Pee Wee Herman is in a Cheech and Chong movie before he had his own movies?
Yeah, forgot about that.
This is that movie. A little more cut from the same cloth as the other Ernest films than say that.
I mean, it's like, it's not just Jim Varney showing up in a movie. It's like a Jim Varney movie through and through.
Yeah.
It's just Ernest the character is only in this movie a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for Ernest, like we discussed before, you're going to have to wait.
Now, that's the thing about this movie. We'll get into the plot. But if you watch Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam, which is a movie you probably have never heard of. You've probably heard of Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Saves Christmas, right? Ernest Goes to Jail, the Disney 4, right?
Yeah.
But I bet most people have never heard of this movie, and I came across it through Amazon Prime. I was looking up Ernest movies to watch for this show, and it came up like, hey, this is available on Prime, and like, what the hell is this? And all over the cover art is the word like Ernest, like Jim Varney is in this. Like the title was like the smallest thing.
It's Jim Varney dressed as Dr. Otto with his head back looking all crazy and, theatrical with a little bubble of, and Ernest is in the movie.
Oh, let's go through the plot.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah.
So, Dr. Otto is a mad scientist who wants to destroy the world's economy, and he creates something called the Gloom beam. The Gloom beam is a huge magnet cartoon-style laser that can shoot all over the world, and it disrupts economic things. It takes numbers off of bank accounts and credit cards and makes ATMs go haywire.
Using magnetism.
Yes, using magnets.
Because in like 1986, that was like a modern idea. Like, oh, I'll get rid of the world economy by using a magnet.
I think by 1986 we understood that you'd use computers to do that, not lasers.
Well, this movie probably took like 3 years to put together.
I guess.
Right?
It almost certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Otto's lair is this crazy trauma, for those of you familiar with trauma movies.
Yeah.
This crazy trauma type thing with fluorescent lights and smoke machines and crazy cuts, and the Gloom beam itself works mostly through these great hand-drawn lightning effects that are all a real The Wizard of Speed and Time type of stuff.
Rotoscope
It's
kinda
really
hand
cool.
Yeah, this movie's got like the quickening all over it. It's that
The
kind of
quickening from the
We
Highlander.
love
Thank
this
you.
stuff.
I read that special effect was expensive to produce.
It's like $1,000 a second or frame or something like that. Something
Yeah,
crazy. We've
but
done
this
it.
the money
movie
went.
definitely did not pay that much to
No,
have this,
there's a
but it's
ton
all
of
over
it.
it. There's a ton. Somebody loved.
Some of it's better than others.
Yeah.
But now the thing is, Ryan was talking about how trauma-esque Dr. Otto's lair is. I think it's Terry Gilliam-esque. It's like a Terry Gilliam movie done with a trauma sensibility.
Yeah,
Like, you're going to
totally.
build this set. You've got one day to build it, and then we're going to shoot in there for weeks.
I think it looks a little bit like an early Nine Inch Nails video that Trent Reznor tried to bury.
It's
maybe.
real, and
Like-
it's the thing about this movie is there's only two versions I've found on the internet. One on Amazon Prime, and one that's like a VHS rip of the movie that's uploaded to YouTube. And the official one on Prime that was uploaded by Know What I Mean Home Video.
Yeah.
Looks a bit better. It's clearly taken from the film version of it, but it's definitely a 4:3 version blown up to 16:9, right? And
It's got weird, like it's been double cropped or something.
Yeah,
And it's
looks
a damn
funny.
shame that I also have not seen a good fidelity cut of this.
It's probably out there somewhere, and
Yeah.
maybe John Cherry just doesn't have. I assume he's the one who put it up on Prime.
It'd be great if they did a road show and they just toured it around on
Like a 35 mil. That's probably 16 mil. Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
But my
It's
point.
like 14 mil or
Whenever,
something.
but the thing is, whenever they show Dr. Otto's lair, it just there's like just barely enough light to get a good look at it, which helps it. It looks very dramatic and cool. Like
It's really fun. In
like a
there,
late
yeah.
70s music video, right?
Mhm.
But I kind of wish I got a little bit better a look at it. Like there's certain scenes in this movie that are lit better than others, but the bass, the Dr. Otto mountain bass, is always just a little darker than I would hope.
Dr. Otto wants to destroy the world's economy as part of his plan for world domination. He starts off with, I believe it's Cincinnati.
Yeah,
he starts off with
Cincinnati-
one city.
It's his example. scene.
And all hell breaks loose. There's riots and chaos and stock footage with cartoonish like sound effects. And so the Cincinnati or some other Midwestern city.
A piggy bank blows up.
Yeah, it reminded me of the opening of Rocky IV. Like, do you think that was supposed to be symbolic? Like, he uses the gloom beam to destroy Cincinnati's economy, and we just see, boom, like this piggy bank go. Do you think that was just?
No, I think it happens. I think. I don't know,
okay.
Yeah.
As this
Excited.
this economic catastrophe starts to become worldwide, the powers that be at the bank call in Lance Sterling, who's a piece of shit.
He's supposed to be like
and is
Fred
so
from-
not likable.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like Fred from Scooby Doo, right?
He's he's kind of like a
Exactly.
pulp hero.
Yeah.
It's like he's a jokey character. He's supposed to be like clueless.
It was
you
a
know?
very progressive joke for 1986 or whatever. Like he has an assistant named Doris who's clearly smarter, clearly takes care of like 90% of the problems they run into.
Yeah,
She's
he,
the
like,
real
he
hero
doesn't
getting
give her
no
credit
credit.
because he's the hero.
Yeah, and all the officials in Cincinnati are like, oh, Dr. Otto made an example of our city and he's going to destroy the world if we don't solve this riddle. So can you
He
go?
has a riddle, by the way. Yeah, he delivers a riddle.
Yeah, this cool riddle.
The riddle of the gloom beam is when the money is scrambled to the very last cent, riots and hatred soon will commence. When all the world's commerce will be put in a bind from the evil that lurks where the sun never shines. It is I, Dr. Otto von Stick Ick Ick Ick, who has played on you this trick Ick Ick Ick. But whose Dr. Otto? You may well ponder, while all your magnetic cash is squandered. It is he who has an eye and yet couldn't see. It is he who served bouillabaisse when he was a she. It is he who gambled with brains and a gun. It is he who had all and yet had none. And to stop this horrible twisted trick, just exchange the poles of old Saint Nick. Actually doesn't fit on one page.
It's a long riddle. It's like a 5-minute scene.
And if that doesn't do to save the day, put another quarter in and try another play. And then he does this wonderful laugh. Just playing out. He keeps the camera.
It's like,
Yeah.
We'll go through the whole story, what little story there is, but cut to the end of the movie. There's no solving of a riddle. There's no like brilliant moment where someone
No.
deciphers it. It's just him explaining the plot to come and that it's a vehicle for Jim Varney to play like 5 characters. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
like,
yeah, he has it's a transformation coffin. Is that what
Yes,
it's
the
called?
transformation coffin.
He uses it to turn into other characters that Jim Varney's been working on, and
Some are more fun than others. By the way, sorry to cut you off there, Neil, but it's somehow we've never mentioned Dr. Otto is an evil supervillain whose defining characteristic is that he has a hand growing out of the top of his head that like does things and
it's
sort
someone-
of
it's
emotes for him.
somebody's hand.
and it pulls
Yeah.
up his eyebrow and stuff when he's like thinking.
Yes.
Like,
I think they didn't do enough with it.
I agree. I was always waiting for him to like look puzzled or like blink or something with it. Like,
Yeah.
Jim Varney doesn't need that help. When it comes to the changing coffin, which is the official name,
transformation coffin.
no, it's changing coffin.
Changing coffin. all
Even
right.
the characters in the movie become aware of how convoluted or just hacky it is by like the last time they use it. Dr. Otto looks over at his like first mate Willie the robot and goes, changing coffin, and Willie goes, yeah, turn on the changing coffin. Like they can just know like, yeah, this is just a device to get Jim Varney in costume.
Willie the robot's pretty great. I like Willie the robot.
Yeah.
It's basically just a guy. It reminds me of Moltar kind of from Space Ghost.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a kind of it's a guy in a metal suit with a bucket for a head, but but it's got a yellow smiley face over the face that changes every once in a while.
Represents
for comedic
usually,
effect.
yeah. What
He gets. I did laugh. There's a good robot nut kick later in the movie, and his face just like the mouth changes into a circle for one
his hand
shot.
shoved in a blender, and he's just screaming, and he has
Yeah.
like these big. So Willie the Robot is at Dr. Otto's lair with him, and Dr. Otto has set off these events to destroy Cincinnati as proof that the rest of the world could fall under his whim, and that's when Lance gets sent off into the woods.
Yeah.
Because most of this movie takes place in the woods. Like,
The actor playing Lance Sterling is trying to do a goofy, like PG level cartoon, a grown man playing a cartoon, compared to Jim Varney's cartoons, and he can't win. He can't even keep up with it.
he's a very most of the actors in this movie are very normal looking people, and
Yeah.
I assume John Cherry and Coke Sam's, I think Coke Sam's worked on this. When they put together the script, like their dialogue is so similar to the speeches Ernest would give in later films.
Yes.
Like, just kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, like cocked eyebrow, like, I believe it was President Kennedy who said, like, just imagine, you can imagine those words coming out of Varney, like with the cocked eyebrow going, I imagine it was, you know, you can imagine Varney giving those speeches.
Yeah, if they had the, I guess like the guts to just have Jim Varney play the good guy too.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have just been an extra dimension of difficulty to make this, because later in the movie there is a scene where there are multiple characters that Jim Varney all in the
finale.
same scene. In the finale, they're all kind of there.
Yeah.
And it's like really rough editing at that point.
They do this thing where the movie is basically once Lance and Doris are sent off into the woods, I guess. Like, did they give motivation for why they were in the woods?
Probably, but it doesn't matter. They're
Because the
just
car
roaming
breaks down.
around
The
in
car breaks
cheap
down.
places to film in Tennessee, you know?
The whole movie, like the car breaking down, the very ending of the movie, which we'll get into later, all of it feels like like the instinct to make a low budget movie back then was make it feel kind of like a horror film. Because even when it's being very goofy and adventure-y and kid friendly, it always feels kind of like Chainsaw Massacre or kind of like Rocky Horror.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Like it always has
Yeah.
like that lighting and that like not cheapness, but like the production value that's added feels like it's borrowed from horror films. You know?
Now, for reasons that don't really need to happen, we learn a lot about Lance and Otto. They are foils to each other.
Yeah.
They are born on the same day in the same town. Lance is born in some like cartoonishly miraculous way where he's already like speaking from birth and all the nurses love him in a clean hospital and he loves the Pledge of Allegiance. And Dr. Otto is like a Wienerville style thing where he's a grown adult head on a weird child thing where he's thrown out of a sack in a
reminds me of-
dirty
He
alley.
kills his parents too. He blows them up.
10 years old.
His mother is like a witch. She's a cackling hag, and his
Father's like Trotsky or some like disgusting.
no, his father's just like some like slob who like watches TV or something.
who also has a German accent. Yeah, he's,
Does he?
and they hate him.
All
They
that
hate
Christmas
him.
stuff reminded me a lot of the Ron Howard, Jim Carrey Grinch movie.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've been enemies since birth. There's like a high school flashback.
The high school scene is
The
fantastic.
high school scene might be the best part of the movie.
where they establish that Dr. Otto is clever and he is a genius. He's evil. But you know, he invents a sentient robot for his high school science fair
Willie.
where all the other participants are just lame and shitty. And Dr. Otto just tortures some poor fool and then enjoys breaking his thing too.
Yeah.
And he grabs him by the head and makes him watch like, now I'll break your thing.
Watch,
There's a
I
lot
will
of-
now break your experiment.
Yeah, it's just him. Yeah, he's just like breaking all this stuff, and it's like pretty entertaining. I love watching stuff just get thrown around because they definitely did not clean up and do a second take, so it's like pretty fun.
So in short, Lance and Doris, their car breaks down after one of Dr. Otto's bizarrely concocted, elaborate, convoluted things destroys their car. So we see Jim Varney go from being Dr. Otto, then he's to go through quickly.
The
quick like a bunny.
Australian criminal.
He's the Australian guy with the military camp. Then he's a pirate who's fighting the dump. Then he's the old lady that Jim
Auntie
Varney's so
Nelda.
famous. Thank you.
Auntie Edna's pretty funny.
Nelda.
in this. Edna, sorry.
I thought it was Nelda.
Nelda?
Auntie Nelda?
Oh, I wrote Edna.
Fact check real quick.
Ryan?
Go to Google. I have my phone on me.
There's a lot of Auntie Nelda fan art. This is one. All right. So,
All right.
third one is Auntie Nelda, who comes back in several Ernest things.
Yeah,
a lot of Jim
I
Varney's.
thought, Auntie Nelda was pretty good in this movie. And she's like she talks She has a dead son that she brings up a lot.
She has that one quote around an hour, 4 minutes in. She says, "And look at me, a tired old woman with a dead son who is no longer alive."
I think they kind of dropped that. Yes. I think they might mention that in future movies, but probably they drop it by the time
more
of Scared Stupid.
By
Yeah.
Ernest Goes to Jail, I think it's just, I have a lazy son.
Maybe, yeah.
Dead son.
But in this movie, it's like her defining trait is she's just talking about having a dead son all the time, and it's like pretty funny.
She's like
It's
disappointed that he's dead. Like
Yeah.
how that bum died.
He never took care of himself. I think that Auntie Nelda must be based on some real women in Jim Varney's life, because there's a lot to this character.
Auntie
the pirates.
Nelda is probably the most complex performance Varney has to give in the movie. Because like
She's
the
a
rich,
neck brace, which is there's a story there, I'm sure.
after Auntie Nelda, there's like that weird rich guy that's like
The dandy, dapper, dandy fellow.
Guy Dandy.
Guy Dandy.
Guy
Who I
Dandy.
thought was pretty entertaining, and he's only in for like a minute, pretty much.
That laser cane was really funny when he just taps
He's got
lasers.
a cane, yeah.
That shoots lasers. He taps a cane and lasers come out of it.
I enjoy the fact that Dandy, the Dandy character, is defined by being exorbitantly rich, but they film in a warehouse where they have like one big room and a stairwell because they couldn't afford like a really rich looking hoity-toity set.
Cardboard boxes on pallets. Like
Yeah.
that's where the rich guy hangs out. Like
And he makes a comment like, "There are other rich people in the world because I gave them money." Like there's like the world is predicated on, which is weird that his last character is about being rich when Dr. Otto's whole plan is destroying the economy.
yeah.
I don't know.
So the last character Otto becomes is of course
Ernest.
and it's like it's almost a blink if you miss it kind of thing. I think he's in like 5 shots at the end of the movie.
Less,
I mean,
less than
he
60
is the
seconds.
last shot. Like,
He
you're
is
not
the
gonna
last
miss
shot.
Ernest unless you're asleep.
Yeah, but like if you've been waiting for Ernest, you'd be mad. So
Yeah.
So basically Lance and Doris confront Dr. Otto, and somehow Dr. Otto manifests all these characters to fight Lance and Doris at the same time.
In
So-
Dr. Otto's weird trauma lair, in the lair.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier the editing's kind of dodgy. They only do like one shot where they had a bunch of people dress up as the characters with their back to the camera, so
Oh,
you
yeah.
can kind of get away with it. I like that scene because I realized I'm watching the birth of this gag they're going to do in all the later Ernest movies, where it just cuts to different Jim Varney characters all having a conversation with one another, and it never makes any sense. But I realized this is where this runner started, was the finale of Dr. Otto. It's not great, but that's where it came from.
Yeah. They
I
figure out a much more less nonsensical way to pull it off.
Sure.
I enjoy the working theory. I love the idea that the changing coffin breaks. Dr. Otto becomes Ernest. He stays stuck as Ernest, and the rest of the Ernest films are Dr. Otto, where like little bit by little bit, like Inception, he's losing pieces of himself, and he just has become. Which is why every now and then Ernest is capable.
Being
He's
very
very good
smart.
mechanically and technically. He has these really
Yeah.
detailed soliloquies where he's rather eloquent.
He's an inventor too.
Now, it's worth noting that when we see Dr. Otto waving Lance goodbye, he's got the hand on his head.
Yeah, and
But
Ernest never has that.
Ernest doesn't have the hand on his head.
But Ernest never takes his hat off.
He does when he plays characters.
Every now and then. But then again,
True.
most of Dr. Otto's characters, hat or no hat, don't have the hand.
Do they all have hats, though?
No,
No,
they don't.
A few of them do. Nelda has a hat. The Australian guy has a hat. The rich guy has a hat. Ernest has a hat.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And who's the last
I
one?
think they're all
I thought
hiding.
Nell
the
had
pirate. The pirate has a hat.
Yeah.
Now,
That hand can't go away with Dr. Otto.
this we've talked. It's a bit of a boring movie. It's a bit messy. It's very bookended. Like the production value is really in the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes.
There's great miniatures. There's great lightning effects. There's fun stuff.
It's really like swinging above its weight.
just
in
put
in a
everything we've
fun
got
way.
into
Yeah.
a movie. Like they even make a joke at the end. There's like an apology to someone who they knew who died.
Elmo. They made it in dedication. They promise we'll do better next time.
Yeah, they literally say at the end, like, come on, be nice. Like, we know. But like, I love when they show the establishing shot of Dr. Otto's lair. They do like this like dolly from left to right on a miniature. And when it gets to its final resting place to show off the mountain, there's a mailbox in the foreground. Like it's a miniature mailbox. Like that's Dr. Otto's mailbox. That's
He
such
gets mail. They can find him. He has
so
an address.
Silly.
It's
It's
So-
yeah.
There is one thing I want to talk about about this movie that is very different from the other Ernest movies, And that's that there's babes in it.
Oh, the babes.
Yeah, the babes.
Dr. Otto's got like 3 babes that are just hanging out with him and his robot in the lair, helping him do evil. One of them kind of becomes a character.
Rhonda Sue.
Yeah, Rhonda Sue.
Rhonda Sue's like the Miss Teschmacher of this film.
She's kind of an obvious honeypot for the hero.
Yeah.
Like she's in like this death contraption and he has to save her.
There's a really funny scene where she's confessing like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've duped you. I'm evil." And Lance is just so smitten with how cute she is. He's like, "Oh, no. You're just misunderstood." And she goes, "No. I've killed people. I've done terrible things. I'm going to destroy the world." And he's like, "Oh no, don't worry about that. Don't." He can't see past her features. And that's one, I mentioned this earlier. I like how just normal looking the cast is of this movie because it makes people like Jim stick out all the more. If Jim Varney was in a movie nowadays, he would be like this. He'd be portrayed as hideous.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Teeth would be black.
Like they
and
don't feel like they
yeah.
belong. The babes like have some good lines.
Yeah,
Some
like
of them.
they're pretty funny, but it's just interesting. It's like that's the one thing I wasn't expecting was like to have some. You know, they're supposed to be babes. It's supposed to be like, oh, Dr. Otto's got these hot ladies helping him out.
Yeah.
And it gets even worse later in the movie when he's like got them tied up because they failed him and one of them's being tickled. And I was like, ooh, this is
A little. It's definitely got a bit of the Rocky Horror
Ernest
edge.
wouldn't do this.
Yeah, this is not. Ernest barely even has like a love interest in any of the other movies. Like,
Sure.
that's how quickly they dropped this.
There's a scene where they come across a damsel, one of the babes, I think it's Rhonda Sue, is set up in a trap and a door in the middle of the woods, which is
Off a cliff.
kind of a crazy visual. It's a Gilliam-esque visual.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's pretty. There's chickens pecking at the rope. That's the.
It's very,
Dumb bit.
but like there's like one shot in particular that's just like an upskirt shot, but it's from like 50 yards away. So I get the feeling the cameraman was like, oh, I want to get this shot, but I don't want the girl to know I'm getting this shot.
Yeah,
She's in
yeah.
like a schoolgirl outfit. And it's not that suggestive.
It's pretty tame, especially for the 80s. But
it is like an attractive woman in a schoolgirl outfit, like legs akimbo, tied to something. It's just a bit weirder than you might expect.
There's a bit of like, maybe like that Elmo guy who died was like the real perv, and like once like he was no longer involved in the Ernest films, all that stuff went away.
So the climax of the movie is when Lance, as Doris is solving problems and beating up the other Dr. Otto characters, Lance gets to this button that says like the right button and the wrong button, and he's like trying to figure out which one to hit. It's funnier than it sounds. And right before he does
he has
it,
to really work at this.
He's like
too.
he consults like the ghosts of his parents.
I loved that. It was
pretty funny.
so funny. Like he like has an internal monologue where he's like looking up and he's like basically saying, "Well, it's the end of the movie."
After Lance presses the right button, Dr. Otto's lair collapses, and we see months later, Lance is steering his broken car while Doris, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the other babe, the
Rhonda
honeypot who fought, Rhonda Sue, thank you, are pushing it because Lance Sterling's still a piece of shit.
He's singing like Moon River or something.
Some
What is
dumb
he
song,
singing?
If I Were a Carpenter.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I were a carpenter.
So
That's funny.
Dr. Otto's pretending to be Ernest in a gas station months later. He won. He won.
He
He's
won.
just-
Like he got it what he wanted.
He could have taken the next step for world domination, but no. He's just pretending to be Ernest, waiting for months in the off chance that Lance Sterling's there so that he can not reveal himself and then like wave goodbye with a hand on his head. The end.
Know what I mean?
I liked it.
I love. Yeah, well, and with that being said, not only do I love it, but in my mind's eye, I'm remembering a 5-minute long Oingo Boingo crazy music video, not all the boring shit with Lance.
It really feels like movies we would have made, or I think anybody makes when they first get a camera and they're afforded the ability to make a feature-length movie, rather than think of a real story that can last 90 minutes or 2 hours.
It's vignettes.
It's just a bunch of vignettes and a very thin excuse to string them together. And that
Totally.
works perfect when your resources, we got Jim Varney. People love this guy. He's very successful in these ads we're doing. Let's just have him play half a dozen characters and have Ernest be the finale. Because people know Ernest, because by this point in time, Ernest was a national celebrity. This is before the Disney deal.
yeah.
So I dig the movie. I don't love it. I don't know if I'd watch it sober again, but I
I'll
enjoyed
give it
it.
7 out of 10 Ernest.
Know what I mean?
But I mean, what did you make of it? Like,
Yeah, I really appreciate its qualities. I think they're obvious right away, like what the strengths of the movie are.
it plays its cards very quickly in the first 5 minutes.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
for everybody at home, if you pause this movie to do anything in your life, you're probably not going to pick it up again.
Yes.
So, yeah, not to get all LeVar Burton about it, don't take my word for it. Read the book or watch the movie. No, this is a fun movie, and I'm so glad we saw it.
It's on YouTube. It's on Amazon Prime.
It's on tape.
It's on tape. Now, there are 2 versions of this movie.
All right.
John Cherry clearly just said, like, let's just put this one out too. It'll be one more tape with Ernest on it. And they shot a new scene to put on the VHS release
At the beginning.
at the very beginning of the movie. It's Ernest talking to Vern, talking to the camera.
Hey, Vern.
Hey, I found this changing coffin. And like he gets sucked into it by a hand that pulls him back into it.
Yeah, I liked it. It's a cool movie. I don't know if it scratches the Ernest itch,
It
which
does-
is
it does
kind of
not.
yeah, no, it doesn't.
There's no real Ernest joke at the ending either. His hands get hurt when someone shuts a car hood on them.
I did laugh at that. That was,
Yeah, that was
Totally.
Oh, yeah. Like, Dr. Otto is fun to watch. I would watch another Dr. Otto movie, a real movie.
So at the end of every episode of Ernest Roulette, we're going to look at the entire pantheon of Ernest films that we've watched and rank them. Like, what is the best Ernest movie?
Mm-hmm.
And as of episode 1, the best Ernest film we have watched is Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam.
Well done, Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam.
Number 1,
Number
Dr.
1.
Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam.
Unbeatable.
Join us next time on Ernest Roulette.
Who knows what we'll watch in the second episode?
Probably an Ernest movie.
That's a safe bet.